Okay, so I've got mixed feelings about this episode. First off, let's get the big stuff out of the way. We're going to go right into spoilers, so if you don't want to see them or hear them, go away now. Kingpin being, finally, his name being said out loud, us seeing a shot of Eleanor and him, Vincent D'Onofrio, being added to the credits at the end. All amazing. Kate and Yelena interacting, amazing. We're going to get to all of those things. But those little bookends, for me, were just not enough. We'll kind of go through the episode, break it down piece by piece. But this episode, I don't know if it was the hype that was surrounding it, that you think you got 2 episodes left and there's a lot of things that have to wrap up. If it was some Marvel folks and some articles saying, oh, this episode's going to break the internet. Oh, this episode's going to be massive and it's game-changing. And the director's saying, well, we're going to see things from a different perspective and we're going to do this and do that. Those were just bits and pieces, and they weren't enough to say this was an excellent episode. The reason I didn't like it so much is because it felt like a lot of little pieces that didn't quite fit in any other episode, that they just went, let's just stick it all together. Again, a lot of awesome things happened in this episode, so let's talk about them. The snap blip thing at the beginning with Yelena means a couple of things. One, that means that the obviously you already knew this, but the bonus scene at the end of Black Widow happens after Endgame. We got a little better idea of maybe who put the headstone together, because later in the episode, whenever Kate confronts Clint and says, hey, I had a talk with that girl who attacked us, and that Black Widow, and she is Natasha's sister, and Clint knows her name. To me, that says that Natasha talked to Clint about Yelena, and even though Clint knows that this was her sister from some years past and those kind of things, he would be able to. He might have made the headstone for her. That you see in Black Widow, that Florence Pugh's character Yelena comes in and cleans up. She could have done it as well, but it kind of, I don't know, it made more sense to me that somebody like Clint would do it, but the location of where it was at kind of lends itself more to Yelena. So still a little bit of mystery there, but those scenes with Val and Yelena at the headstone do obviously take place probably closer to the Hawkeye series than they do to just right after the blip, maybe a couple of years afterwards, because this show does take place at least a year and a half after. The snap and the blip time frame is 5 years, 2018 to 2023, and then somewhere in 2024 we can assume that Valentina connects with Yelena. We learn from Yelena when she tracks Eleanor to Kingpin's house or wherever they're at, that Eleanor's the one that hired Yelena to kill Clint, but the why is still out there. There's something else in there that we haven't quite gotten, so there is going to be another little twist somewhere, and maybe another little cameo, who knows. But in finding out that information, you kind of get the idea that Valentina is just Yelena's handler, that Valentina is not the one directing people saying, you go kill this person, you go kill that person, but that Valentina is just the person you get in touch with if you want to hire Yelena. And or Eleanor contacted Valentina looking for somebody to take out Clint, and this is the person that Val chose to go do that because she'd get the job done, knowing her connections to Natasha and Clint's connections to Natasha. So it definitely paints Valentina in a little different light, which is better than just treating her like a villain, because I don't think she totally is. I definitely think she's out for herself, but I don't think she's totally a villain. And but the things we learn about Eleanor paint Jack in a different light, in the way that Jack reacts to, I don't know what this company is and I don't know who this is, there's still some more going on there, and that's a thread that hasn't been pulled yet, and I'm interested to see what they do with that in episode 6. There were a ton of really awesome Easter eggs in this one. One in particular that connects to Spider-Man No Way Home, and you're going to have to tune in for our Easter egg video, which should have a link for up here somewhere because we're doing these at the exact same time. But the Christmas music in this one, the Charlie Brown theme song, the Grinch song at the end, we got our animated salute there to those Christmas songs in this episode. The characters, obviously, at the end of the episode had to go their separate ways, and it made for some interesting interactions. I thought that Yelena was going to somehow connect up with Maya and the tracksuits because she has something in common with him. They're both trying to get Clint, and so I thought she was going to connect up with them, and come to find out, as soon as she walked in, as soon as Kate walked in her apartment and I saw the door and I recognized it from the trailer, I knew that Yelena was going to pop up there, and I was so excited for that because from the moment Yelena popped up on the screen, thinking about the two of them in a scene together, talking and interacting, just seemed humorous, and it was great the way they played off each other, and when they become friends, hopefully, crossing our fingers, their chemistry is going to be really awesome. It's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch the two of them. Again, every scene that Florence Pugh is in, she steals the show, and the way she plays that character and the things she says and the way she delivers her lines, all those things were amazing and a whole lot of fun. And then Kate being able to kind of assert herself in that situation and being confident, right down to saying, well, I'm so glad I didn't shoot you. And Yelena thinking, well, yeah, you didn't really have a chance. But, if you watch it back, she did. That, she stops her dead in her tracks. And, whether or not Yelena can dodge an arrow has yet to be seen. But all of those things were fantastic. I loved those conversations. The way that they got Clint, because they went their separate ways, Clint moves out of Kate's aunt's house, takes the dog with him, goes over to Grill's house, and that is how Clint and or Kate end up getting their new costumes, because Grill's remarks that they dropped off the suits for them. Did he want them? And so those things are ready to go. All of the different pieces. This episode spent a lot of time putting pieces in place and drawing lines and connecting characters that weren't connected before, so that we can have one big final showdown. I think Maya is probably not going to be a bad guy. I think this is going to be Kazi's time to shine. They kind of tipped their hat at the fact that maybe Kazi knew that there was a play for leadership among the tracksuits and that Kingpin might have been a part of it. And so he wasn't at that meeting the night that Ronan showed up. And I'm not so sure it was Ronan. Clint doesn't say that it was him. He says that he was tipped off by an informant, and that he knew something was going to be going on there. So he may not have shown up and somebody was in that suit, and Maya tends to think it's him. But I liked that Clint showed up and showed Maya his face as an act of trust, as an act of, I'm not this guy anymore, because he spent all this time in that suit being this guy, and he's not that guy anymore. So he has to own who he was and then come out of that to be able to actually get away from it, rather than, locking it up in a locker somewhere. And I was a little scared when he picked it up that, man, this is going to get bad. But it didn't turn out that way. I was glad it didn't. And then the confrontation between him and Maya at the end there, that sent Maya off on her own track to confront Kazi, who I think Kazi is going to take control of the tracksuits. I think Maya is probably going to side with Clint here, or at least that conversation was the beginning of her going off on her own vigilante quest to take down Kingpin and find out the truth. And maybe that's how her story starts, and we really don't get any connection there with her and Clint, but I don't think she's going to be a problem for Clint anymore. So that remains to be seen, and I'll talk about some of that in my prediction video, because there are so many things that have to happen for this show to wrap up that they pushed to episode 6. I think they tried to make this a standalone for Yelena's conversation and her kind of storyline to weave her into the story. And they ended with that Kingpin reveal. And I think they thought that would be enough. And probably for fan service and for some of the traffic on Twitter, yeah, it's going to be enough. But Yelena's story could have been blended in much sooner. And you could have, I think you could have found a way to see her a little sooner, extend each episode by maybe 5 minutes, and add some of that story in there sooner. Especially since they gave you some of the backstory on Maya, like in episode 2, episode 3. They could have done some of that in episode 4, maybe. I don't know. I liked episode 4. I thought episode 4 was really just pitch perfect for how they did it and how they ended it and how it kind of built and the questions it left unanswered. Episode 5 just fell flat for me a little bit, even though I was super excited about all the Kingpin stuff and seeing him on screen in the white suit again, Vincent D'Onofrio being tagged at the end of it. So there's no doubt he's back, and I'm a huge Daredevil fan, and so getting to see that again, knowing that possibly Matt Murdock is coming in the Spider-Man movie, hopefully. All of those things, we're diving into some of the Daredevil universe and storylines, and I'm super excited about that. So thank you guys for watching. Check out some of our other videos over here. We got playlists of all of our Hawkeye reviews and Easter egg videos, along with some other cool stuff that you might find interesting. So as always, like and subscribe to our channel. Share this thing all across the multiverse so you can help us get to 100 subscribers before the new year. And as always, when the next one drops, we'll see you right back here. Bye, guys.